I have so many names to break down and show that this is consistent with everyone. I'm just going to run through some really quick because they may be names that not that many people are familiar with. But I want to show how this applies to everything. First, Henry Gray, most notable for Gray's Anatomy, a British anatomist and surgeon. All they have for him is his birth year, 1827. First, just his simple name, Henry Gray. Here, expressed notion, reference, or we're talking about people here, so you could say who you are or reference, vitally identified. So you're here, expressed notion, reference, vitally identified, and with that, you generate and group that reference, active, vital identity or vitally identified. So he's an anatomist because he studies the body, and a surgeon. And he was born in 1827, which is 18 is reference or active here. 27 is that question mark or the based, generated, and grouped. And he's the Gray's Anatomy guy. I'm just going to be more straightforward with how words would translate in bigger terms and try to understand that I'm saying them loosely because this is as if every person is a representation of living light. We are. So this next person is known as a, ancient history guy. Billy Carson, born September 4th, 1971. His birthday happens to be September I, 4th D, so it's ID. What is the ID? The subject that is generated and grouped active. He talks about ancient history. He claims to know all this stuff. And his name is simply Billy Carson. The base identified between two L's or the center, vitally identified. And then Carson means one close to or playing with fire, because arson is one who sets fire. When you have a C before that, that means one who's playing with or plays in the fire. Constant to itself or unseen concept of the air, sun, but the active reference, subject, ongoing notion. So when you put that with Billy, kind of goes against the grain. Everyone knows Billy is that kind of renegade. At least in the 80s and 90s, Billy was like the bad boy Billy. Not saying that he's a bad boy, not saying that he's anything specific, but people are playing these characters. Does it mean they're right? Of course not. Does it mean they're wrong in every aspect? Of course not. We're all living in our own mind, but there's one huge thing going on here, and that's what I'm consistently pointing out. So don't get lost in too many side stories. And come back down to earth and don't worry too much about ancient aliens, because you are actually here right now at a point in time that has to go a certain way if we want it to make any sense. So gathering all conscious beings. Don't listen to people like this guy, please. Here's Johnny. Going from Billy Carson, we'll go to Johnny Carson, whose middle name happens to be William, but most people don't go around getting nicknames for their middle name. So we have John William Carson. How we just had Billy Carson, who is a constant to himself air, subject, ongoing notion. He talks about ancient aliens and things like that because he's base identified between two L's, vitally identified, Carson. Well, now him, Johnny Carson, he's on the air and people are looking at him because he's the intense, ongoing here notion or nature, constant to itself, air, sun, or constant to itself, active reference, subject, ongoing notion, Johnny Carson. And then his birthday is October 23rd, 1925, which would be October 10, J, intense, 23rd, based concept, or plural, W. 1925 would be the active identified, or the subject, vitally identified, 25, or base expression. And he's an actor, a TV guy, and he was known for late night television, and he went by his name. He was known by Johnny Carson. He was vastly famous for his own name, not a character he played. He may have played other characters, but he was known for his own name. Just like in another video I went into, I don't even know if I put it out because I've made so many videos. I made a video about all the late night hosts, and I left Johnny Carson out because I did so many of them already with David Letterman and Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, Jay Leno, Conan O'Brien. If you haven't seen that one, let me know and I can put it out. I think I put it out. If not, then let me know. But either way, that was Johnny Carson. The intense, ongoing here, notion, or nature, constant to itself, active reference, subject, ongoing notion. And with William in his middle name, it would just be the plural identified between two L's, I am, or the identified active manifestation, William. It's not to simplify it, but these things are names. They have power. They hold position. And he was known for exactly what he did. This one's a little different than any of the other ones I've done as a name entry. But as I was breaking down the word semantic and somatic, how semantics has to do with speech and somatic has to do with the body or movement, physical things. And as I was looking through it, it had an article with two people on it, and it happened to be about somatic movement. And it was a Peloton instructor. And if you don't know what Peloton is, they have a lot of exercise machines, a Peloton. And the instructor's name was Kristen McGee. Kinetic, reference, identified subject plus identified notion or nature, and then manifest, constant to itself, generated or grouped, expressed upon itself. And she's a Peloton instructor for exercise machines. Kristen McGee. And in the same article, down below it, another somatic movement therapist, Sue Choi. Subject, unit, expressed, constant to itself, here, ongoing, identified. And we're talking about the physical body. We're talking about somatic movement. And it happens to be Kristen McGee and Sue Choi. And see how it's just a random little thing as I'm looking for any other word to show that these things are always in place. I hope you see it, and I hope you enjoy it. Because life is a lot more fun and a lot more beautiful than we've had our eyes open to. As I said at the beginning of this video, I'm literally just going through a lot of the pictures that I have and talking about the names that come up. This happens to be a person who channels interdimensional space beings, and I'm not trying to put it down. Our names vibrate, and we do what we do because this is a universe where things beyond the normal scope of understanding are happening. So this is Marina Jacoby, and she channels messages. And I feel bad about this picture because her eyes almost look like she's a robot. But it just happens to be bad lighting, I'm sure. This was something from a Gaia episode, I think one of my friends sent me and told me I had to listen to it. And then when I tried to explain to them that our names in this universe is way bigger than we understand, and this is not even captivating to me anymore. Nothing about the aliens is impressive. If you guys really wanted to understand, I'd love to talk to you about it, but you got to get your mind out of space zone. Anyway, Marina Jacoby. Now think of what marine is having to do with the water. Turn the E to an A because it's just the activation of that. It's the manifested air I, like Aries is Aries. This is Mary, the sky, or the Holy Mother. But now you identify that as a notion or nature activity. And then it's intense, active, unseen, Obi, like Obi-Wan Kenobi of space, ongoing base identity. So it's intense, J, active, constant to itself or unseen, ongoing base identity. But from the marina, not from the marine, from the marina, the big open air, the marina, Jacoby, and she channels messages. Do you see how poetic and beautiful the universe really is? And she, just like everyone else, is playing her part as the creator and part of the creation at once. And we can all see it. I've been showing it for a long time. I'm going to finish this quick one off with one more person who happens to have a very simple name, but when you add it all up, you'll see that it actually makes sense. His name is Dave Pascoe. He's a rejuvenation athlete, and he's in his 60s, yet he looks to be in his 30s or maybe 40s. And as odd as this stuff seems to most people, his name, Dave Pascoe, would mean dia, or to and from, the active vital expression, and then Pascoe is Pascoe, would be the potential or placement, active subject, constant to itself, ongoing expression. So if your potential active subject, constant to itself, ongoing expression, and you started with the dia active vital expression, Dave Pascoe, a rejuvenation athlete, just by that definition, it would make sense. But then when you look at what the name Pascoe is supposed to mean, the translation is Easter children. What does Easter have to do with anything? That's when things spring into life, at Easter. And if a person was shining in their older age, a rejuvenation athlete with the name Dave Pascoe, and you can wrap your head around the idea that everything we're doing is timeless, yet we human beings made up the concept of time, and we're running around in circles, doing a lot of crazy stuff. And if someone tries to ask you to just calm down and think for a little while, usually you'll get offended instead of actually doing it. But I'm trying to be really patient, and I'm showing you how this stuff works. As wild and unusual as it may seem, it's true. So, I'm going to end this video along the lines of rejuvenation and being healthy. I hope everybody's taking care of themselves and really learning things about their body and mind. Until next time, peace and God bless.